Hey everybody, Code here with a new forecast update. We've got some important new details emerging regarding a powerful storm system that's forecast to bring large hail, damaging winds, heavy rainfall, fire weather, strong tornadoes, and winter weather across the central and eastern half of the United States Friday through Sunday. It took me two breaths to say that, and that is what we call a royal flush in the weather world, so pretty crazy. We also got some rambunctious activity forecasted for the northwestern United States over the next week as well. Now, I was planning to reactivate this channel after a 3 year hiatus next week with a completely new graphics package, but this is a very important event. Now, I don't have the graphics yet, but these next 2 days could be very significant, and so we're going to make a forecast update. As you can see here, the SBC just upgraded the risk to a moderate risk on Friday for parts of eastern Missouri and western Illinois, an enhanced risk around that as well, and a slight risk for much of the east central quadrant of the United States for all hazards possible. The tornado risk, as you can see here, on Friday is going to be a 10% hatch. That means a 10% chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius of your location. And that hatching indicates EF2 potential or greater. So you'll want to keep your eyes on the TV, the weather radio, the fellow live streamers, as we have a pretty large area. I mean, this area is the type of area that I would normally storm chase. It's in a swampy area, so it will not be storm chasing, but this is a very strong tornado risk. As we head towards the hail risk here, a little bit smaller, but will be pretty elevated here in western parts of Illinois and eastern Missouri as well, and a slight risk around that, all the way out maybe to eastern Nebraska. That's going to be a very big question mark. Can we get enough moisture up in Iowa and Nebraska to support these severe thunderstorms? It's very marginal up in that area. As we look at the wind risk here, that's going to be the biggest event. I'm forecasting a squall line to be the primary scenario here as we head towards Friday night into Saturday morning. That's going to put you at a 45% chance of strong winds, at least 58 miles per hour or greater, with hatching also possible. So that could be 70 plus knots as well into the Ohio, maybe out to the Tennessee and Ohio Valley region, but starting off in the eastern plains. And as we head towards Saturday, we've got a rare day 3 moderate risk out for Mississippi and Louisiana. Very rare that I see these storm chasing. And I tell you what, I've been looking at the tornado data, which we're about to go over in a second, and the tornado data is increasing and it's off the charts for parts of southeastern United States as we head towards Saturday. So we'll go over that in a second. Now, they don't issue the tornado risk quite yet, but I do think it's going to be at least a moderate risk or higher, maybe even a higher risk for this area on Saturday. And you can see all the way up to the Great Lakes down to the Gulf, slight risk. So you'll see a pretty widespread event of the 2 days. Saturday is going to be the bigger day. And you can see that 45% hatched risk. So severe weather, widespread, and pretty intense on Saturday. As we get towards Sunday, the low pressure system starts to kind of weaken and shear out, but you'll see a widespread swath of isolated severe weather, slight risk on Sunday here for the eastern seaboard with all hazards possible. I do think the wind threat's going to be the biggest, some isolated hail, maybe a quick spin up or two with the tornado threat as well. Looking at the flooding risk, I mean, we have just maps upon maps here to go over. The flooding risk, slight risk, excuse me, a moderate risk, or get the right pen tool out here. There's a marginal risk for the Ohio Valley into Tennessee Valley area overnight on Friday. It's going to be a pretty quick squall line. It's going to be pretty thin and pretty quick, but it's going to be a very heavy rain when you do get it. So there's a chance that you could see some heavy rain. Saturday is going to be the bigger day. You're going to see a wider spread in multiple rounds on Saturday, so a slight risk of excessive rainfall for the Ohio and Tennessee Valley area on Friday. So really all hazards possible for that. And wouldn't you know, we also have a extreme risk for fire weather behind this system. As this system winds up, it's really going to pull out some strong southwesterly flow into Texas. And that's going to be really dry behind that dry line. And guess what? That's going to increase the risk for fire in Texas and Oklahoma, maybe even up to Kansas. So right after that front moves through, have your safety precautions for fire weather into play. Probably not the best day to burn. It's going to be pretty extreme. It's going to be windy and very dry behind the system. The winter threat, this is the winter storm index threat. You can see, obviously, in the higher elevations out in the northwestern United States and parts of the southwestern United States, we've got a moderate to major risk, very heavy snow in some of those mountainous regions. And really nothing for the eastern United States and southeastern United States. Those will be mostly thunderstorms. But behind this low pressure system, you could see a quick burst of snow, heavy wet snow, with as much as 1 to 6 inches in the eastern Dakotas and parts of Minnesota. I believe the max is going to be 6 to 8 inches, where you see the heaviest snow access in those regions. So we got a moderate risk for winter conditions in that area as well. So let's take a look at the computer model data, and we'll flip views here. This is the thing we really want to watch here, is this jet stream that I was talking about. So we're going to go up in the atmosphere, take the old elevator up to 500 millibars. This is just near and under that jet stream. This is right now. This is that jet streak you see coming across the southwestern United States. Not terribly potent yet, but you can see this. Watch as this moves off the Rockies. That cyclogenesis occurs, and that low pressure system closes off up here in the upper levels in the jet stream. This is at 1 p.m. Friday, right before the thunderstorms develop, and this is at 4 p.m. Friday, right as the storms develop. And you can see that low pressure system centered into Kansas, and this jet streak into moving into the eastern plains. And you can see that really stretching out. That's going to fill the void out in the upper atmosphere. It's going to lift air at the surface to fill that void. That's going to create that rising motions for storms. And that wind shear is going to get really enhanced as well as that jet stream moves in. Those strong upper level winds, weaker lower level winds, that's going to stretch those storms out, keeping those updrafts from keeping them building. So that 120 knot jet streak going to create a lot of lift and wind shear as we head towards Friday afternoon, evening into the central plains. And those thunderstorms developing right out ahead of that low pressure system. Friday night into Saturday morning, you can see the system moves off to the northeast. The low center maxed is now into Minnesota, but again, the storms will be out ahead of that. It starts to stretch out and weaken. As that happens, the storm load will go from tornadoes and hail to a squall line, and that will start to weaken as it moves towards the Great Lakes. Your day in the Great Lakes and eastern Nebraska or eastern U.S. will be on Saturday and particularly Sunday for the eastern seaboard. Now, the biggest question mark will be, when does those storms move out? Do they move out in time? If they move out in time, that will set the stage for more sunlight and more destabilization for the southeastern and eastern half of the United States. The next system will develop here on Saturday. So that first system will pull out. So if you're wanting the severe weather to not hit, you're going to want this area to kind of stall out. But the models currently are having this progress pretty quickly out. Now watch what happens if we get towards Saturday. It moves out, and here's that second system. This is 7 p.m. Saturday. 4 to 7 p.m. is really where that max activity is going to be in the southeastern United States, right out ahead of this jet streak. And you see this one's a lot larger. That other one was a little bit smaller. This one's larger. This is going to be a pretty large area, widespread area of thunderstorm activity. And those winds are cranking up there at 100 plus knots. That's really going to set the stage for some severe weather. As we head towards Sunday, you can see this really gets going. 4 p.m. right along the eastern seaboard. Now you might be thinking, why isn't Sunday the biggest day? We'll go over that in a second. One of the reasons is, look how this is elongated now. There's really no closed off low, not as much rotation. This will be more of a squall line type of event. Tornadoes like that spin in the atmosphere where you have southwesterlies mixed with southerlies at the surface. But what will happen with these types of events is you'll get this long cold front with parallel wind shear with southwest surface winds and southwest upper levels, and that will be more of a squall line event as well. And the whole system kind of weakening, getting elongated, as you can see here. But the winds will be cranking up there. There'll be plenty of forcing, plenty of stretching for lots of widespread activity on Sunday as well. So you want to keep your eye as well on Sunday in the eastern seaboard of the United States. More flow coming onto the northwestern United States. You're going to see several rounds of snow and precipitation over the next couple of weeks. But you can see this really starts to quiet down for much of the United States, south of that region, and into the parts of the central United States on Sunday. So a nice little relief there. We're going to look at the actual convection here, the precipitation, and it's pretty intense here. Like I said, I'm making new graphics. That's going to make everything so much easier here and a lot easier for you guys to look at. So stay tuned next week for those. So this is going to be Friday, right here, Friday. The low pressure system really gets cranking. So watch what happens as this thing moves out into the Rockies. So this is right now. You're going to see quite a bit of rain and snow in the upper elevations. It's going to take a little bit of a break, but once this moves right out of Friday, right out of the Rockies, watch what happens to those black isobars. There's a low pressure center. This thing bombs out from like the 990s to lower than 976 out in eastern Nebraska. That is absolutely bat crazy in eastern Nebraska. That's a bomb cyclone, and that's going to be pretty intense on the wind field there. So those tightly packed isobars, it's going to be windy all around this thing. And you can see your thunderstorms develop out in Iowa, Missouri, and even farther south there Friday afternoon. So we'll go back right here at Friday, 4 p.m. is when I expect this activity to start to develop. Isolated thunderstorms really possible towards Arkansas, Missouri, and parts of eastern Kansas. The main activity is going to be to the northeast of that area, though. So as we head towards Friday around 7 p.m., that really starts to develop in Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska. Nebraska and Iowa are going to be the biggest question mark due to moisture concerns. That jet stream is insane. However, the moisture is really going to be a problem. Not a ton of moisture in Iowa and Nebraska. And so that's going to really inhibit the tornado potential and severe weather potential in that area. But I do believe you're going to see some pretty strong winds in Iowa. If the moisture was a lot stronger, this is the area actually I'd be targeting for chasing. It'd probably be stronger than the area that's in the main risk right now. So that is, they dodged a bullet, but there could be an isolated brief tornado, some wind and hail in that area. But as we head towards Friday evening, this is 10 p.m., and this is around 1 a.m., you can see that low pressure system in Iowa now with those thunderstorms and that squall line out ahead of it. It's going to be a pretty quick, fast-moving squall line. It's going to be a little bit thinner than what this shows. This is the 3-hour composite of it. The HR model has a very thin, quick burst of rain that moves through. And behind this, you can see this very intense pocket. That's going to be rain and maybe even some heavy snow mixed in into eastern Dakotas and another batch out here in the central and western Dakotas that could set the stage for a pretty tricky snow forecast. But I do think some areas will max out at 6 to 8 inches in the eastern Dakotas. This is Saturday morning, and the biggest question mark is how fast do these storms move out east? So that resets the stage for the southeastern U.S. outbreak on Saturday. Right now, the models are moving out fast enough, and as you can see, this is 1 p.m. Saturday. That low pressure system, that's the old low pressure system. Okay, it kind of just spins its way out and kind of fades out. That's going to move this first line of storms out. They're going to weaken as they move to the east. That strong snow is really going to get going Saturday afternoon and evening in the western Minnesota and eastern Dakotas. And look what happens here. This is 1 p.m. Saturday. That new system is going to develop some around Arkansas and develop another severe set of thunderstorms down in the southeastern United States on Saturday. Now, out of the 2 days, Saturday is going to be the big day from what I've seen. The best moisture supply, the best shear supply is going to be in the Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana region. And that's the area you're going to want to watch. Your local TV stations, fellow live streamers, and the weather radio. You're going to want that handy as the dynamics are, in terms of 1 to 10 for severe weather and tornado potential, this is at least an 8.5 from my storm chasing scale here I'm making up here. So this is something you're going to really want to watch. I would not be surprised if we see a moderate risk for tornadoes, maybe even higher. So we'll have to watch that closely. And to the north, you're going to see some, again, that storm is going to shear out, so the snow will become a little bit lighter, but some lingering snow showers and rain showers up there in Canada and the northern U.S. As we head towards Saturday night into Sunday morning, look at that system down there that really gets going. This day is going to have a lot more widespread severe weather, and it's going to have a lot more widespread rain, and it's going to extend from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to about the lakes, with the core of the instability occurring just towards the Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana regions. That instability and that wind shear from the jet stream overlap. That's where your strongest storms are going to be. Now, you might be thinking, why does it look more intense up there? This is kind of a composite of the precipitation. So that's going to be more of a rainfall, heavy rain, wind, and maybe even some isolated hail up there. The isolated area is really where you're going to see your tornado potential. That's going to be closer to the southeastern United States for those long track, strong tornadoes. You might not get as much rain, but you'll get more hail and tornadoes. So that is Saturday evening, and overnight, you can see this moves out, eventually hits Alabama and gets into the mountainous regions of the Appalachians here towards Saturday night into Sunday morning. It will begin to weaken, but I am concerned about a quasi-linear type of event. So this is your squall line here. But what you could see is with that strong wind shear, absolutely bonkers wind shear, you could see embedded circulation. So you want to keep your eye or have your alerts ready overnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning, if you're in the eastern parts of the Tennessee Valley into the southeastern United States, as we could see some isolated spin-ups within that squall line as it moves through. As we head towards Sunday, this is the lesser of the days, but it will be a pretty widespread event from about up Pennsylvania down to Florida. And within that little line there, you could see some wind, maybe some isolated hail, but you can see it's really elongated and kind of spread out. There's not really a strong circulating low pressure system all the way down there. So that's usually more of a sign of a cold front. And in my experience, you'll mostly get windstorms with those types of events. I usually won't chase these because it's mostly a squall line, but you could see some isolated tornadoes. This is a very dynamic system. So again, you'll want to watch your local weather on Sunday as well. After that moves through, really quiets down. You're going to see several rounds of precipitation for the northwestern United States, especially Northern California, where you're going to see some very heavy snow and rain in the lower elevations as well. So that's your precipitation. Now, let's look at that moisture. So I was talking about the moisture. This is something we're going to really want to watch here in Nebraska and Iowa on Friday, and the rest of the country really as well. So you see, this is the biggest concern here on Friday. You can see the moisture supply. The 60s are all the way down here, 60 dew points. That's where your best moisture supply is going to be. Where that jet streak was right around here on Friday. And so where you see that overlap, that's where your best bet of severe weather is going to be. But because that jet stream is so strong, it can kind of make up for that lack of moisture, do that incredible lift from the jet stream. The problem is up here is really weak moisture, and the jet stream, the main jet streak is just to the south a little bit. So Nebraska and Iowa, if the dew points are about 5 degrees hotter, warmer, you would see a high-end tornado event up there if it didn't line out first. And I would actually be targeting that area. But because of that lack of moisture, it will suppress the tornado activity to only an isolated brief tornado or two. But any increase in this area becomes under the gun very quickly. So we'll have to watch that very closely. But at the moment, it appears the best moisture supply is going to be to the southeast. Behind this event, you can see this very dry air. This is going to get sucked into that low pressure system, that very powerful low pressure system. And as we head towards Friday night to Saturday, you can see that move into Oklahoma and Texas. That's where your wildfire risk is going to be. So really keep it careful in western Texas, western Oklahoma, very dry and very windy conditions with that fire threat. And you can see that moisture supply in the southeastern United States on Friday night into Saturday. And then it really gets going Saturday. That's really pretty impotent when you combine that with the jet stream. And then Sunday, it moves off to the eastern seaboard. And you can see it starts to struggle a bit as you go way northeast. But there will be enough moisture in the southeastern part of the United States for some severe weather there. So that's our fuel component. And now let's look at that significant tornado parameter. This is Friday, and this is Friday at 7 p.m. Right there, that's where your bullseye is on Friday for potential strong tornadoes. And Friday has been increasing in intensity with the latest model runs with more moisture supply. If you look at the past few runs here of the NAM computer model, this is a few runs ago, not much moisture. That's the kind of the average precipitable water, average moisture in the column of the atmosphere. But watch this is the same time, same run, or same model, but different runs. At moisture supply generally trending upwards and more widespread, especially the southern end of this, even the northern end just a little bit. So this system is trending up for Friday. I would not be surprised to see maybe even a 15 hatch tornado risk for Friday in parts of southeast Missouri there. Storms are a little more isolated down there, so that's a little bit of a bigger question mark for Arkansas and Louisiana. But southeast Missouri, really want to keep your eye to the sky there. As we head towards Saturday or Friday evening, it moves off to the east, decreases a little bit. That's due to capping inversion overnight that occurs. And then as we head towards Friday or Saturday at 1 p.m., really gets going there. This is 4 p.m. The tornado parameter index is near a 10 for parts of Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, and getting close to western Alabama. This will mostly be just to the west. That is the focus area where you see that crazy wind shear. Your storms are going to go up. They're going to get stretched out. That's going to keep your updrafts forming, and that pretty good instability and moisture to keep those updrafts explosive. That combined is going to create a very focused area of tornado development in the Mississippi area as you head towards Friday. As we head towards Friday evening, this is 1 a.m. Friday, overnight, it starts to weaken. That capping will stay pretty strong, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw an isolated tornado threat all the way up to Kentucky overnight into the area on Friday night with those quasi-linear convective modes. As we head towards Sunday, it really weakens. Like I said, with that cold front, it's going to be a little bit more of a cooler event with wind, and you can see that tornado threat only about a 1 or a 2. So it really does weaken as we head towards Sunday. But again, winds will be pretty strong out ahead of that thing, and maybe an isolated hail pocket or two as well. So that would be that. And then if we look at take a look at this updraft helicity index. This measures the severe storm tracks, and we're looking at the HR model. This is for Friday here. This is measuring rotational storms. So you'll see storms that'll move through, and they'll leave behind these tracks, which are essentially the rotation, the areas of rotation. And you can see the best tracks on Saturday here. This is about through Saturday at 1 p.m., and this will move eastward into the evening hours, but you can see those tracks really centered right through about central Mississippi. So that's currently the strongest area of rotational thunderstorms. For usually these are the best represent strong tornadoes and large hail. So that area we want to watch. As new data comes out, we'll see this populate further east. This only goes out to Friday or Saturday afternoon. And we can also look at Friday as well. So we'll take a look at this area up here. And this is going to be Friday. So this is right around 4 p.m. is when they develop in Iowa. And this is 1 a.m. So between 4 p.m. and 1 a.m. is when the main rotational tracks will occur. These each represent like a little supercell or an embedded circulation in that squall line. And you can see they develop in northwestern Iowa all the way through central Iowa. And the strongest areas will be out here in eastern Missouri into western Illinois. So that's your best bet for any type of tornado or hail potential. But really anywhere out ahead of this line right here, that's where you're just going to see a squall line with at least some thunderstorms, some gusty winds, and some severe weather region within this area right here. Again, the biggest question mark is, can these storms develop a little bit sooner, and can we get more moisture? If that's the case, this area is really going to uptick in severe weather. Currently, that does not look to be the case, but we'll have to keep watch on that. It's really a blessing in disguise that the Omaha area, all the way out to like Des Moines and maybe even Sioux City and Sioux Falls, won't see anything much crazier. I mean, if this was 10 degrees warmer dew points, you'd probably see a tornado outbreak up in this region. So that will wrap this video up. Again, guys, I got a a completely new graphic system coming next week and a new YouTube channel where we're going to have some cool weather visualizations, like 10 years of radar time lapse, that type of stuff as well. So stay tuned for that. Stay subscribed, and we'll have some brand new videos coming up as well. So stay tuned. Stay safe out there. Hope you enjoy your this night, evening, day, whenever you're watching this video, and we'll see you soon.